keeping alive someone who would otherwise be dead and killing someone who would otherwise be alive. So many people who support euthanasia think of it as turning off life support machines. But we already have that right, and the right to express our views while alive and well about how much medical intervention we want when our lives near their end. Euthanasia is not that. It is a lot more than dying with dignity, as its proponents claim, and it will radically change the way policymakers treat the old, the vulnerable and the sick, which I'll explain in a moment. But tonight, as Australia's first assisted dying laws come into force in Victoria, whatever your views on the issue, we should all be better informed about what these laws mean, because death is the inescapable universal reality for all of us. And I feel many of us have glossed over this debate because death is a difficult subject in these anti-religious times. Now, in legal terms, euthanasia is giving people a lethal dose of drugs, either a lethal injection from a doctor, in the case of the Northern Territory's laws that were overturned 2 decades back, or a lethal cocktail of drugs that people get on a prescription from their chemist and then take at home. And that's the case of Victoria's new laws from today. Now, in Victoria, people with less than a year to live, whose suffering is deemed intolerable, and who make 3 requests to die, can be given lethal drugs if 2 doctors approve. If you read or heard the various headlines announcing this change today, most trumpet the 68 safeguards that are meant to protect us and our most vulnerable from wrongful death. Let's take a closer look, because these are not the safeguards that euthanasia activists claim them to be. The requirement for a 2-doctor approval doesn't mean 2 doctors you know or 2 doctors who have treated you for some time. It doesn't mean your oncologist in the case of terminal cancer. It's any 2 GPs who can sign off on your bid to die under these new laws.
Did you hear that? Any 2 GPs. So, not your own doctor, not your personal doctor that knows who you are, knows your history, knows your mental disposition, knows your mental health, knows if you're prone to personality changes or mood swings or whatever. Any 2 doctors can sign off on you dying, can have no history with you whatsoever, no history at all, no personal relationship, and can just sign off on you dying. Let's hear that again.
Death. Let's take a closer look, because these are not the safeguards that euthanasia activists claim them to be. The requirement for a 2-doctor approval doesn't mean 2 doctors you know or 2 doctors who have treated you for some time. It doesn't mean your oncologist in the case of terminal cancer. It's any 2 GPs who can sign off on your bid to die under these new laws, whether they've treated you before or not. With soaring mental health issues in Australia, nor is there any requirement in Victoria for you to be assessed by a psychiatrist. Perhaps most importantly of all, there's also no requirement
to be assessed by a psychiatrist either. If the system deems you terminally ill, whatever that means, they can just kill you. For the majority of the left and for the eugenics cult, life is not a privilege. Do you understand? I mean, life is a privilege. Do you understand? It's not a right. If their system doesn't deem you valuable enough to the state, they'll just kill you. That's what they wanted to get to. A sort of technologically advanced version of Maoist China. That's why the globalists put Mao in charge of China in the first place. It's been a long 50-year beta test to get to this point, and it's also part of UN Agenda 21 to severely reduce the population, perhaps halve it. And if they get everyone killing themselves with these transgender cults in elementary schools, when young kids convert themselves to transgender and grow up and they're mentally and sexually confused, and as a result of that they kill themselves, that solves the problem, doesn't it? They don't have to use bioweapons and things like that, and they don't have to wait for 5G to slowly kill you and give you brain tumours.
That's a trade-off society is making because of very, very high medical costs and a lack of willingness to say, is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient, would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-off in medical costs? But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion.
Let's hear that again.
Society is making because of very, very high medical costs and a lack of willingness to say, is spending $1 million on that last 3 months of life for that patient, would it be better not to lay off those 10 teachers and to make that trade-off in medical costs? But that's called the death panel, and you're not supposed to have that discussion. So of course,
well, that's an interesting thing you just said.
Okay. Bill Gates just says there that it's better to kill off a few old people to save a few teachers. He's already making a value judgment as to who has a right to live and who doesn't. Right? That's what these people are. These people are sick. How the hell should he have the right to determine who has a right to live and who doesn't? Life is a gift from God, ladies and gentlemen, and in leading up to Christmas and this Christmas Eve here in Australia and December 23rd for most of my subscribers, I imagine, we should be thinking about the dignity and beauty of life, not the desecration of it by these disgusting eugenicists such as Bill Gates, who have so much power and, to be quite honest, shouldn't have it. And you've got people like Elon Musk at the moment mapping the human brain, wanting everyone wired into this bloody AI system so they can just be eliminated and wiped out at any point. That's what that we're becoming. This is the time. It seems like the time, the end to me of the book of Revelations. We're seeing it in the open now. We're seeing what's good and what's evil, and never is the choice been clearer than it is now.